No, to your right. To your right.
To my right.
To your right. It's to my left. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit. That's it. That's it. Okay. Okay. Love the glasses.
Thank you.
And we are up, and we're coming up in 10, 3, 2. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It is the holiday season, and we are looking at Black Friday all over the place. Now, typically, it just happened after Thanksgiving, the day after, but it is the margin of profit for corporations, so we're seeing it happen almost in September. We just get Black Friday. Certainly, we're in the throes of Black Friday season now, but something interesting is happening. People are not shopping. They're not shopping because they can't and because they won't. And let's talk about this because you have millions of people who've missed one pay period and two pay periods. And my brother was breaking it down for me last evening. He said, you miss one pay period, you might have to borrow some money. The second pay period, you absolutely have to. And then when you've got to repay the money, once your paychecks resume, if you're so fortunate as to have that happen for you, well, you're quick to take the money, but you're slow to give it back. Not that you are dishonorable, but the fact is you are behind Dr. Julian Malveaux, brilliant economist, president emeritus of the Bennett College for Women. And so when I'm looking at people who are saying that we need to have a general strike, that is to say, we need to not just not go to work, or what we might need to do is just boycott these corporations until they take their feet off of our necks. Because Bernie Sanders has had a point. Senator Sanders has introduced the term oligarchy into our collective mind. It sounded too overblown 5, 10, 15 years ago, but now you're seeing, my goodness, that the oligarchs have really taken over. They run the place, Dr. Malveaux. It's
They
not
do.
just the bankers. It is they have all the government contracts. COVID effectively shut down small businesses all around the country. Think about that, everybody. I mean, we need to look at. I want to know while you're on this chat line. Let me know how you are dealing with Black Friday. Let me know how you're dealing with the resumption of your paychecks, but that put people behind. People really struggling out here. But as I begin, as I did in the last hour, I want to thank all of you for your love, your prayers, your concern about our father and my mother's husband, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. There was a false report that circulated over the weekend that he was on life support. That was never true. That was never true. He's been battling a very serious infection, and at his age and given his other health complication, which is a form of Parkinson's. PSP is that. It is a form of Parkinson's. Uh, Even with all of that, he is fighting back.
Hmm.
And I would see him and we'd wipe his brows, massage his head as he was sweating and fighting to get his blood pressure back up. And we turned a corner on Friday night. It was so wonderful to see. And of course, the nurse was alerted, but I said, look down the hall. We got to get them in here because his blood pressure is way up. Not dangerously high, but something has happened. Well, as he'd been fighting the infection, everything began to come together. That's what happens. You need less support over here. His blood pressure was doing fine on its own, thankfully, by that time. And so we've been very, very, very blessed. But I have to tell you, his concern is getting out a couple thousand food baskets for people immediately. His concern is getting the health care for everybody that he's been able to receive. See, we're looking at 42 million people who were not, and their families. So it's more than 42 million people. You can multiply that by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those SNAP benefits feed a whole lot of people. And not just the recipients, but the people who work in the stores, all of that. But he wants people to have Medicare for all. That's something that he's been fighting for more than half a century. You know that, Dr. Malvo.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't care how much money you have or if you have no money at all, you ought to be able to walk into a hospital or into your doctor's office and get the health care that you need.
You ought
I'm
to be
not,
able.
you ought to. I mean, and you can do that if you get ill in the other industrialized nations of the world. You get cared for. And you do not have to figure out if you're going to have to sell your plane ticket to get home, that you need to get home to pay for your medical bills. They're like, no. They look at us as if we are crazy. To them, it is really an alien concept to have to pay for this health care. So, that having been said, Reverend has been getting the best of health care. And I have to give a shout out to the team at Northwestern University Hospital. They've been wonderful. And I have to thank in a special way Dr. Damon Arnold, Howardite, University of Chicago, Harvard, and all of that. Brilliant, brilliant, and a veteran. But he was also the former director of the Illinois Department of Public Health. And he came over Friday night and sat with my father for hours. And then he came back on Saturday and then came back yesterday. And he let us know exactly where he was. And he was pleased with his progress, on Friday, because he was there when his blood pressure actually returned to normal. And he said, "This is great." He said, "But I would expect nothing less of Reverend. He's a fighter." And so, thank you for your prayers. Continue to give them, because I tell you what, the prayers of the righteous availeth much. That is what our Bible tells us. And I'll leave you with this verse that came to me, Dr. Malvo, at 3 a.m. on on Saturday morning. You know not the day nor the hour. And I kept hearing that in my consciousness. And I said, wait a minute. Um, Let me read the whole verse, because this is what Jesus said in the book of Matthew and Mark. Said, you know not the day nor the hour, nor the angels, nor the Son. Jesus was speaking of himself. He said, I don't even know, but God knows. Only God knows what your end is going to be. So I appreciate doctors. And this is when your faith has to kick in, even if they are pessimistic. Good for them. That is their job. But I'm a woman of faith. My father's a man of faith. Our family, we're people of faith. I don't say it's over until God says it's over. I've seen too many miracles in the course of my lifetime. And so I want to thank you for keeping our family lifted up in prayer. It has meant more to us than you can possibly know. It means everything. So God bless you. And thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. And that's the blessing. So let us begin, Dr. Malvo. And I'm sure you want to say something about your brother beloved, your big brother beloved, Reverend Jackson,
I
because
love
he
Reverend
has
Jackson
been
so
very
much.
worried.
This morning, when I'm part of the morning meditation team at my church. People don't believe that, but it's the truth. I
Yes,
got
they do.
a little angel in me, a lot of devil too. But anyway, this morning in morning meditation, um, my theme was leadership, and that's been the theme for the week. And I was able to ask the 50 people who are on the prayer line to just take a minute and just lift up Reverend Jackson, because first of all, he has been the consummate leader, but he's also just been such an amazing person. This person,
Mhm.
and people think of him, ran for president, did this, did that, but he's just an amazing person. And you mentioned Dr. Arnold. I was there in Chicago one time and got sick. I don't know what happened. Oh, I didn't eat. Um, and I'm diabetic. I'm not supposed to do that. And
Oh,
I think I got dizzy, and they ended up taking me some hospital. And Dr. Arnold, actually, Jeanette Wilson called him and said, "Can you come look at her?" and, and he did more than look. He basically hooked me up and talked to the doctors and convinced them that I didn't need to stay overnight. And Reverend came over, In the middle of everything that was going on a Saturday, Reverend Jackson came over and spent some time with me. He's just a special human being. And folks, it's just pray without ceasing. Pray without
Mhm.
ceasing, because that's what needs to happen. There will be a miracle. I feel it in my bones.
Well,
You
we've
know,
seen it. I promise you before the Lord, I've seen it. Last night, yesterday he was talking all the time. Apparently, Roland Martin came by to see him. I was not there. I was working, and he was giving Roland instructions. He said he wanted 2,000 baskets of food to go out. He said he wants to go home. He wants to be with my mother, and he wants to go to work. And so I am so
and he was
grateful.
talking. I mean, like
So
we
he's talking like
could understand him.
I was massaging. Well, he's advanced in the disease, but you could absolutely understand him. I was massaging his head. I said, "How does it feel?" He said, "Wonderful. Don't stop." I said, "Okay, all right, okay," because I saw him reaching to scratch his head. I said, "Well, let me help you with this." And he said, "Thank you." I said,
Mm.
"Daddy, how does this feel?" He said, "Wonderful. Don't stop." So I just kept
Ooh, I love it. I
I
love it.
kept I kept on going. Then I brushed his hair back, and then there was that. So God is in the blessing business, and I just want to thank everyone for their prayers. Um, so many people have been so kind. From the people, the nurses' aides, the people who clean the hospital. They said, we're praying for Reverend, the security. And see, because that's where my father's heart is. He's with everybody, but with the least of these.
No, he's with the
Um,
working people. I mean, you
well,
remember how he began some years ago when we had a catered meal or something, and we're a meal at a hotel. First people he recognized would be the servers. You
well, he'd
know,
have them come up on the stage,
yes,
and he would have us thank them. And they were like, "Wait a minute!" They would be standing there like, "Wait, wait, what?" He said, "Come on up here." And he'd have them stand on the stage, and they were. He was like, "Thank them, because without them, we would not have this wonderful day or evening. Come on."
exactly.
And he never failed to do that. But his grandmother was a maid and a housekeeper. My mother's mother worked in the VA hospital. The people who would serve you the food, that's what my grandmother did. And so let me be very clear, you never know who you're talking to. You know where you've been, but you don't know where you're going. And you don't know how God is going to use anybody. So
That
let's
part.
be kind of that part. So everybody, let's be kind to each other, and let's continue to be prayerful. But thank you. I've got several hundred texts I've got to return. And I was finally able to get back to Dr. Malvo. I said, I have to call her and let her know, because I knew she's got 50 questions, but I just wanted her to know that all was well. And then I've had to work through all of this, but everybody is going through something, and we have to hold on. So everybody, please take care of yourselves. If I didn't have good health, this would have been an even more challenging time. And not just physical health, I would say spiritual health, because it's been a test. So, everybody, please hold on to God's unchanging hand.
Yep.
Still loving you, Vance, and Carol, and Robert, and all of you, Sandra, and so Dave Dowling. Thank you, Correctional Officer, for the lockdown. Boy, that name, you're killing me. Cyber Diva. Robert, sending you all so much love. So everybody, like and share, like and share. I'm on Blue Sky, Santita Jackson.bsky.social, Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel right here, and of course, um, at Santita J on X and Santita Jackson IG, and I'm beginning to get active everywhere. So may God bless you real good. But let's talk about this money. I was talking to Chappelle Wells, who you all have heard on this show, and she said, I am not shopping, and a lot of people are not shopping.
Yep.
Explain that. What is going on? Are we having like a boycott, an economic boycott? What's happening, Dr.
Well,
Melvin?
Latasha Brown and her crew, Black Voters for Black Voters Matter,
Hmm.
have has a sign that said, "I ain't buying none of that." And but she's the way she explains this is not buying the BS, not buying, but also not buying anything.
Hmm.
I think the date she said is from Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, until December 5th.
Hmm.
Uh, consumer spending is what drives the economy. Two
What do you
thirds,
mean by that?
2/3 is between 2/3, which is 66%, and 70% of our GDP is driven by consumer spending. If we don't spend, the economy does not grow. So this is a revolutionary act during a holiday season of saying I'm not spending money. Now, some people, as you said earlier, can't don't spend because they can't spend. They don't have
Hmm.
the money to spend. We know already, as an example, that um, turkeys are twice the price they were this time last year. Last year they were under $1 a pound, like 99, 98 cents. Now it's $2.04.
Oh
It's
my
more than
word.
half the price for turkey. Some of the people who are used to doing either Thanksgiving giveaways, or there are some you used to be able to go into some department grocery stores and get a whole meal for like $50. They'd have, their turkey, your dressing, your blah 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 blah. Many places now are the $50 is for just for the turkey, and then they don't have the meal kits with the whole
Well, the
thing.
fixing, right.
So, so first of all, inflation is happening. A lot of people don't have money. They missed a paycheck or two, some two. And if you miss two paychecks, you're kind of in the hole because most Americans have, by on average, $400 worth of savings to use in case of an emergency. With a median income being over 60 grand, uh, $400 isn't going to do a lot. So some people are not spending because they don't have it to spend. Others are spending as not spending as a political act. Say I'm out. I'm not fueling. See, when you spend, you are funding your own oppression. I mean,
What do you mean by that?
all these oligarchs and others are oppressing us. You give them money, you're basically funding your own oppression. You're saying it what the way you treat me doesn't matter to me. You
Mm.
can treat me any kind of way. This was like Target with Jamal Bryant and the Target boycott. What we saw happen there was Target prices dropping. Their stock price is dropping. It was dropping because people were not buying. People were not buying because Target said, "Well, we don't like DEI anymore." Of course, they were basically responding to that man who lives in the house that enslaved people built and his comments. That they're responding to that, but Latasha and her crew were like, "Just don't shop, just don't buy." And I would advocate that as well. I mean, I've talked about economic boycotts as long as I could talk. Um, we had a boycott back in the day. That was funny. I think I was 10 or 11. And the lady at the corner store had been disrespectful to one of my friends. She was of another ethnicity and she used the N word. And I'm like, and we used to pass by there to get candy after school. I was like, y'all, we not stopping there anymore. And it wasn't like a huge boycott, but it was a boycott. And she came outside one day as we were walking by. She said, "Do you want some candy for free?" I was like, "No, go on back in your store and mind your business." I got in trouble for mouthing off at her, but but, but see, I don't know how to be out of trouble, so it really doesn't matter to me. I mean, my mother's like, "You
Well,
on
do you
she's
not
like,
know?
on the
Oh,
street,"
have
and I'm like,
you? Well, let me ask you this. No, Reverend has always said you have to have an insult level. And he said the most dangerous part of slavery is when you've adjusted to it. And
"Yes."
maybe he said, be maladjusted. Dr. King talked about being
Dr. King said,
creative.
I
Yeah.
want to be maladjusted. He said, I don't
Yeah.
want myself to this. And so, no, we have to be maladjusted because the status quo is not okay. And so basically, we had our little boycott and the priests and my mama with her peacemaking self had all the children come and she apologized. She said she didn't mean it. Yes, she meant it because she'd done it before. But and it didn't. I wouldn't go back in there. When mommy
Mhm.
would one time she said, "Can you just go get me a quart of milk at the corner store?" I said, "I'll walk up the street." She said, "Oh, we're still boycotting." I said, "We are." I will walk right up the street, 3 blocks up a hill. I did not mind. I did not mind. Boycotts are important. It's a way of us expressing ourselves. And what Latasha and Cliff, the two with Black Voters Matter, what they're
Mhm.
doing is saying we will not be complicit in our own oppression. Now we're going to have to eat. We have to eat, and but we don't have to eat at certain places.
Hmm.
Um, we're gonna need. Some of us will say we need clothes. I don't. I have 6 closets full of clothes, so I do not need clothes. Um, in fact, I shop in my closet these days. Um,
Yeah.
but some people will need clothing. The thing that gets me the most, a lot of people, is we're going into the holiday season. A lot of our young people are expecting goodies. They're expecting toys and other things like that. Well, with the tariffs on China, all these, a lot of these toys, the cost is going up. So a lot of people shop more judiciously. That's just how it's going to be. So boycotts can be very effective. They hurt predatory capitalists where they live. When they
Mm.
see their profits going down, they're like, "Uh-oh, what's happening?" So I support the I ain't buying none of that completely. In fact, I think I'm going to have Latasha on my radio show next
Mhm.
week to walk us through the importance of this boycott. It is very important. Um, remember, I mean, our roots are in the Montgomery bus boycott,
Mhm. Well,
where
oh,
for more
like,
than a year, for more than
oh,
a year,
thank you.
people carpooled or walked. Some white ladies who needed to have their houses clean came to the hood to get their household workers
Mhm.
because they couldn't live without it, and that's a beautiful thing, which gave them an opportunity to see where their folks were coming from. And as I said, and some people walked because they had no choice, but that was a successful bus boycott. But how long did it take? It to more than a year. So they're just asking us to boycott for a couple of weeks. And I don't, it should be longer. But people, good people, keep your money in your pocket. They're between COVID, inflation, and that man who lives in the house that enslaved people built, who continues to lie. I mean,
But wait a minute, but doesn't he advocate for the oligarchs? You and I have talked about this before. I mean, because really, that's what the president does. The president's power has been diminished. The last president who really tried to make big moves was Kennedy, really. Whenever you try, they take you out. And we've seen the whole character of the presidency change. I mean, the last independent president was the first one we had, who was George Washington, who was a member of no party.
who was
Because I'm only
a slave holder who was so horrible to our people. Uh,
that he used their teeth.
yes,
He pulled their teeth. But that having been said, I'm speaking of him because they were flawed. That having been said, I think where he did get it right was being the president of the United States and not the president of the Republican or Democratic Party. I'm simply asking about um, the people who are really setting the agenda. He's not setting the agenda. I mean, Larry Ellison was the one who vetted Marco Rubio for Secretary
yeah.
of State. I mean, who does that? That's the world that we're living in. So when people talk about fascism, that's a conflation of business and government. I mean, they're like running the place.
And that's what we see. That's what we see right now is the fact that you're right. There is very little independent thought. There's very little, everybody belongs to some party. And so you end up with a situation that's quite amusing if you laugh at things like that, where Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene is suddenly at odds with her big daddy, um, the president. She's
But, no, but,
that's
but let me push back a little bit on that, because remember he did not endorse her in the primary.
well, he
Uh,
didn't endorse her now. That's not he's
but,
endorsed her
no,
throughout.
but what I'm saying is, I think I saw the CNN interview with her yesterday, and it was
Yeah.
interesting to me for several reasons. Because the pushback she got was really over Gaza. I
Hmm.
mean, Dana Bash threw in something about what you said about black people, and she was appropriately, sorry for that, because I give people the space, Dr. Malvo, to um, to evolve, change their minds, because I mean there are a lot of our centrist Democrats who are black who I don't share. their politics. But that having been said, there is these people, different people came in America first from different spaces,
Mm-hmm.
and they're seeing the president not operate from that space now. They said, "Oh, because they would tell you, I thought he was gonna, I thought we were gonna get out of Gaza. I don't want to participate in what they're doing to the Palestinians. I thought we were not gonna have any war. I thought, and none of
That's
what
what
they
he
thought.
campaigned on. I mean, he
Yeah,
campaigned on two things: no war and lower
uh-huh.
prices, a better
And,
cost of living.
and none
Those
of that has happened,
No, he
right?
comes in and immediately pardons the January 6th crew, over a
Hmm.
thousand of them. He immediately does that. That wasn't what he promised to do. Um, Prices have not dropped. Inflation is alive and well now. Um, it is at 3%. The target is usually 2. It came down quite a bit under President Biden, and it's come
Hmm.
down a little bit more, but now it's headed right back up. Why? Number one, tariffs are a tax. I mean,
Explain tariffs to us. What are they?
tariffs are a tool in international trade where let's say something costs $1 in China, let's say, and you slap on a 50% tariff, which means it's now $1.50. So so basically, a tariff is a tax on goods and services or goods rather, that come from abroad internationally. What this president has done, he's gone country by country, cowering people, using tariffs as a bully pulpit. Technically, tariffs, technically, why you would have a tariff is not because you're punishing people, but you want to give people in the United States, let's say, a home court advantage. So
Mhm.
let's say that China has a lot of cheap clothes. United States has cheap everything, really. United States has clothes that are not so cheap often. If you slap tariffs on the Chinese goods, then the Chinese goods will be more expensive when they come here. So the Trump thinking is, okay, so let's say the little pair of pants costs $1 to make in China, but it costs $5 to make in the United States. This Now, if you
Mhm.
put 100% tariff on China, that still just takes it up to $2. But you might be a member of a union who talks about look for the union label. You might be
Mhm.
somebody who says buy American. Well, if the pants were only $1, you're gonna buy them because they're cheaper. But if they $2 get to $3, you're like, well, I really rather support, my own country, my own workers. So I might have to do that. And if the tariff were more, or the pants started out more expensive, then it pushes you to buy the US product. So that's what historically, if you go back and look at the Boston Tea Party and how we threw all the tea away, threw it into the harbor because we wanted our own, frankly. We did not want British goods at that time. This was, of course, 1776. But fast forward, tariffs are often used to encourage domestic spending. And but the kind of tariffs that this man has put, I mean, when you start talking about 50%, 70%, that's yeah, yes, it will push you to domestic goods, but it's also very inefficient and it basically unbalances trade. Think of a tariff as a tax. It's a tax. And again, this man said he wasn't going to do anything about taxation. Well, a tariff is a tax. So he did. So everything he campaigned on, he basically has not done. Instead of ending wars, he's trying to start a war with Venezuela. And he's all armed up on the coast there. And it would just take, when we think about how World War One started, it was an accident. Well, we're cruising for another accident. When you have that much firepower, the largest cruise missile ship, the largest in our largest. Venezuela ain't all that. And it's the excuse is that we Venezuela is importing fentanyl. No, they're not. Now
Well,
they're
this isn't about the oil, though. Come on, Dr. Melvo. Is
of
this
course,
and the corporations? that do not want them, who are angry that they nationalized their resources and they had to cut another kind of deal. They actually have to pay them.
Yeah.
So
I've been to Venezuela a couple of times, and the thing about it, they got oligarchs over there too.
yeah.
But the people there in the hills are so humble and so hardworking. And I mean, Cuba at one point was sending doctors over there.
Hmm.
I don't know if they are anymore, but at one point, Cuba was sending doctors over there again just to try to help over there. There's extreme poverty there, um, and if you go through the favelas where I mean, you cringe at the level of want that you see. And whenever there's something of a food giveaway, something like that, people are just grabbing because they don't have enough. And so making Venezuela uh, the aggressor in a war is absurd. But they're not going to stand and take it. They're not going to just let the United States. They've killed what? I think it's 70 people. It's in the 70 people range who died
Hmm.
because we knocking these boats out. A little fisherman. Some of these people are just people trying to make a living. Now, some of them might be involved in drugs, but at a very, very small scale because you're looking at someone who has one fishing boat, and you're gonna kill them.
But this
You know,
is not about, this is not about the drugs. We don't care about that. We want control of their oil. And now you've got Russia and China who are supporting Venezuela. You've got the what, European Union, who said, well, the first it started with the UK.
but the
We're
UK
not going
said
to.
they won't share intelligence with us anymore,
Yeah.
and that's and because part of some of these Caribbean countries were formerly British protectorates.
Hmm.
So they're strong ties. You start talking about Jamaica, Grenada. You go down the list of countries. Many of these were British protectorates, and they still could keep close relationships with the UK. The UK says you can't show me that these boats that you're bombing, you're sending your drones to bomb, that they're doing anything about drugs. So they've stopped sharing intelligence. It's disrupting the world order. It was never perfect, but this has made it far more imperfect. And the challenge is that if we get into a war, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? First of all, our economic system is already somewhat upended. It will become less stable.
Why?
Secondly, have another war. Well, war is destabilizing.
Okay.
Um, it- so just by itself, that's it. Then, Santita, if we go to war, who's going to fight? And if the disproportionate number of African Americans in the military.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's not
And and Hispanic Americans. I
okay.
mean, it's what Charlie Rangel called it, the poverty draft. Poor white people.
Precisely, yeah, poor white people. You're absolutely right. So we go to war; those are the people already suffering who are going to suffer even more. This is the intent of this president. I mean, frankly, he has not dealt with the people. And the scary thing is, if you look at his numbers, a lot of poor people support him. They like that rhetoric. They like that America First stuff. And they support him. Again, funding, supporting their own oppression. Because essentially, when poor people support that kind of nonsense, poor people end up worse off. And that's what we've seen and we'll see again unless something happens. And I can't see the end of the road. I cannot see to the end of the road. In other words, I don't know what stops this man. And
Well,
it's not
it's not,
this man.
but
It's
it's
a
not just him. I'm saying
no, I agree with you.
it's
I think it's a system. It's a system.
yeah,
And
because I think that mentioning one of the things I told you we learned from Mayor Richard J. Daley, you don't mention the name of your opponent. I mean, the thing is, that I think we've become very focused on him, on the man, and not the plan. This
I
is
think
so much.
I think you're right. Because
This,
basically, because every day there's a new shenanigan, and every day the constituency hurt by the shenanigan uh, makes a lot of noise, yells and screams, and it diverts from what's really going on.
yeah, to me, this is not. because the presidency doesn't work that way. It doesn't. It's a consortium. And you see that they really are mouthpieces for the oligarchs. Now, mind you, I'd like for it to be different, and the military industrial complex. I'd like for it to be different, but I just don't see it. And so I want to know from you, you know, what is the way out? Because we can't even get to those discussions, Dr. Malvo, about Venezuela and the Congo and other places, all because we're everywhere.
Yeah.
We're not eating. People have missed not one but two pay periods. I mean, and those are the government workers. Um, those are the government workers. But now you have people who are vendors with the government who are not going to be able to pay. I mean, they're going to fall. They're People are
They
falling
won't.
behind.
There will not be replacement checks for them. There's replacement for people who actually work for the government. But as you said, we've got vendors, we've got so many others, and then to add to that, you've got the destabilizing effect of these ice raids. Charlotte,
Mhm.
North Carolina,
Mhm.
they don't have a. I mean, they do have a significant Latino population, but they don't have out of control crime. There
They
was
don't have
just
a border problem. I mean,
hmm?
they don't have a
Yeah,
border problem. What is this?
it's the capricious nature of this president. So although we don't want to talk with, I love the daily adage of don't
Well,
mention
that was his lesson. But I mean, see, Dr. Malvo, see, this is a challenge to me. Um, this to me has always been about martial law, right?
yeah.
I mean, because beyond the personality, what did Ossie Davis say at the first CBC Congressional Black Caucus gathering, the first dinner? He said, "It's not the man, it's the plan. It's the
Mhm.
plan." And they're grabbing up U.S. citizens. And,
Yes.
I mean, there is more. I mean, and this is happening at a time in when Americans are really energized socially and politically. I mean, I see that growing because everybody is wondering what is going on because Dr. Malvo, people are not eating.
No, exactly. People are not eating. I mean, food banks are running out of food.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it is extreme. And then the health piece is another huge piece because people are going to see um, their premiums go up. We're losing the ACA subsidies because the Republicans refuse to let those go through. I think that the Democrats made a very reasonable, a modest proposal, continue the subsidies for just one more year so people could talk about an alternate plan. They said, oh no, we're not prepared to do that. Now, I don't know how this is going to come out. Um,
Mhm.
we don't know how it's going to come out. And so we're just sitting there with uncertainty. And a lot of people are going to go broke. A lot of people are going to have major problems.
Mhm.
And those problems are problems that are almost insurmountable. I see someone who says, is it okay for other um, countries to put tariffs on us?
Mhm.
I hear socialist rhetoric. Well, I'm tired of socialism. First of all, we have socialism for the wealthy. That's what we have right now. So if you have a problem with socialism, then you should have no problem with taxing the wealthy.
Why do
But
you say we have socialism for the wealthy? Explain that.
well, socialism is about collective control. So it's control for everything. But I won't say everything belongs to everyone, but basically, and I'll send you the column I wrote last week about just all these people calling Mamdani a communist. There's a difference between democracy, socialism, uh, capitalism, communism. There's no such thing as a communism in America, but socialism really talks about collective control. Um, like Mom Dami's idea about free food. That's a socialist idea. Nothing wrong
Mhm.
with that. People do need to eat. Of course, markets are the ways that we regulate prices now, but markets are skewed. They're often skewed against consumers. So, I mean,
Hmm.
how does the price of turkey go up by
Double.
100%? By 100% in just one year? you know. And it's really about, again, so those who have say, well, we shouldn't have free food, you have to work for it. Well, who works for these tax breaks that the corporations get? Who works for them? They don't work for them. The government decides that they're more valuable than we are. And so when I hear the person who put on something on the screen about socialism, I rankle. Yes, all countries have used tariffs as a measure of control.
Mm.
Often they use them to, like, as I said earlier, to give local business a boost. Um, so yeah, countries can apply tariffs to us, and some countries do, some don't. The in economic talk, we think about comparative advantage. Which country is better off at producing X? Like I would say, China's better off at producing cheap stuff. They're also better at producing certain electronics. Right now, they're better, more efficient at producing electronic vehicles. So if we tax electronic vehicles, which is what that man wants to do, it would be to give our EV industry an advantage. So countries doing it. There's nothing socialist about it. So I don't understand the mindset, but these words are used by that man and others to scare people. The first thing they started saying about Mamdani is that he was a communist. Well, he's not a communist.
Mhm.
He described himself as a democratic socialist. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's not saying he's taking over industries. He's saying he wants to make more things available for the people. And that's a problem with a lot of people who think that we should all be oppressed. They worship at the altar of predatory capitalism. Predatory capitalism is about extracting surplus value from people's stuff, like your wages, extracting surplus value, which is how rents go so high often. So
Mhm.
we have to be clear about the language we use. And I'm not sure that the person who raised the question meant to say socialism, but I'm going to take them at their word because I can't. I do a lot of things really well, Santita, but my reading is not one of them. So why
Well,
is it okay for other countries to tariff us? I think I just explained it. They tear us up. Every country has some form of tariff. The question is the size of the tariff. What the United States had attempted to impose on India, I think we've imposed on China and some other countries, is 100%, 125%. That's absurd. No country has tried to tariff us that that high. Most times the tariffs are percent pennies, you know,
mhm.
pennies on the dollar. So tariffs are part of international economic structures, and there's nothing wrong with them. In an ideal world, we would have free trade for everybody. Nobody would have tariffs in an ideal
Mhm.
world. But because we have different um, capabilities by country, there's some countries that are like, I can't compete with US, let's say, I don't know, whatever we're good at. I can't compete. I've got to give my home country an advantage. And that's really what tariffs do. They give the home country an advantage.
So, what will the holiday? Let's just get to Thanksgiving. What do you believe that's going to look like for so many Americans, with turkeys being double what they were, uh,
People will
and
be eating
people
less.
being two paychecks behind?
People
And
may be
and wait a
eating
minute, we haven't talked about the people who lost their jobs.
that
Period.
part too. That part too. Um, let's see. Let me People are going to be eating less. People are going to be eating differently. That's just how it is. And we have a emotional connection to that big old bird sitting on the table. I mean, there's
Yeah.
people can't think of Thanksgiving without thinking about the big old bird sitting on the table. Well, it may be a smaller bird. It may be no bird. It may be um, you know,
Turkey slices.
yes, exactly. Or um, heavy on the sides and light on the protein. There
Yeah.
any people are going to have to make it work, and it's going to be challenging for a lot of people. I see a lot of food banks and others doing more because they have to. They don't have to, but they see the need and they're responding to the need. Um, it's going to be a lean Thanksgiving for a lot of people. Not for everyone, but for a lot of people. I would say I was talking with an economist, a fellow economist on my radio program this morning, and we were talking about just the fact that the adjustments that people are making, the adjustments that people are being forced to make.
How are people adjusting? I mean, because I've talked to people who are not shopping, but I would imagine that there are some people who cannot shop.
Yeah, there's some people who cannot shop because they don't have the dollars. They'll be the ones who'll be standing in line waiting for the food giveaway. They'll be the ones who will be, or they'll have a leaner meal, a different kind of meal. Um, that's it. I mean, we can, and that's Thanksgiving's just, a week and a half away.
Hmm.
And I don't see anything happening in a week and a half that's going to change that situation. The bottom 60% of all Americans, you said the bottom 60%, that means the majority are going to feel some kind of pain. That's just how it
So,
is.
so it's not some people; it's most people.
Yeah. The
Okay.
bottom 60%, that's more than half. That's just
That's,
about everybody.
that's most people, and since people who make $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck, America's in trouble. Would that not be a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment. And then we have a myopic, basically not even the cabinet, all of them, who say, "Oh, it's just not that bad." Well, not that bad for you because you choose for it not to be that bad, but it's bad for most people. So if we do look ahead, I mean, I like I said, I see a leaner Thanksgiving, less food on the table, and I see people standing in line to get it. Lottie Dottie and everybody, lots of organizations have turkey giveaways. Some have the giveaway of the whole, kit and caboodle, turkey and fixing. I imagine people waiting a long time in line to get those things. I imagine the lines will run out. People will run out because I, I think we've all underestimated the impact that missing two paychecks has had on people. Other people will, I think my brother said this morning, he said some people will borrow because
Mhm.
they can't give up the notion of having this big Thanksgiving meal. It's when families come together, there's tradition, people have a good time. So some people will borrow. Um, some
From
people,
where? From where and at what cost? Well,
so yeah, from where and at what cost. And so we're seeing two things that are scary around food. One is people purchasing groceries on their credit cards.
mm,
Now, if you're purchasing groceries on your credit cards, you're paying between 18 and 25% interest on your purchases, unless you have a low interest card, which if you're poor, you don't have a low interest card. The other thing, Santita, is that I saw, and then I had a conversation with one of the women who works at the food bank in my church. I saw this older gentleman, he doing sourcing for food. So he was asking people, he put up his info. He was 80 some years old,
oh,
and so he went on and did a crowd. So I guess he said his grandchild taught him how to do a crowdsource. So he's crowdsourcing for food. And that usually people crowdsource because somebody got killed to help get the money for the funeral, or they're crowdsourcing for seeing young people, for their college trip or something like that. But I've really never seen, I don't pay attention to that stuff that much, but crowdsourcing for food. So this lady at my church was talking about how, I think is it this week, that we give out boxes and we also accept requests. So some people who know our church and they may not be members, but they know our church, they've made requests. But others, you know, so we have so she said the number of requests they have has gone way up. And
mm.
so she's at there. I think Pastor actually asked people, did a second collection just for the food situation.
I've got about 3 or 4 minutes left here. Help me to understand just what we should be doing because if you missed your SNAP benefits, you're already behind. Whenever you miss a paycheck, which is effectively what all of these things are, whenever you miss getting your money, you miss a lot, Dr.
Yeah,
Malvo. I mean,
you're
you
behind.
you
You're behind.
you're put behind.
And
I mean, you're late on
it's
everything. So I mean, so help me to understand, what do people how can people get out of the hole? Because there's no discussion about people being in the hole.
and I don't know how people get out of the whole issue of joblessness. I mean, do the unemployment rate is artificially low at about
Mhm.
4.3%, 4.4. It's
Why is it
artificially
artificially low? What do you mean?
because we don't pay attention to a lot of things that go into the unemployment rate. You have people who are involuntarily unemployed. You have people who are, we call them discouraged workers. They don't even come into the labor market. They figure, I can't find a job. And guess what? It costs money to look for a job.
Mm.
You know, if you're a sister, you've got to get your hair hooked up. You can't go to a job interview with your hair all over your head. You got to make sure your clothes are top notch, or at least dry cleaned. Dry cleaning is not free. You know, you've got to first impressions work. Some people can't do it. And see, we got used to the COVID economy where people had to be in the office 1 or 2, maybe 3 days a week. They were saving money like that.
Absolutely.
Now they were saving on gas too because they didn't have to drive to work. Now many employers are demanding that workers be there every day or more days. So all these things, people are going to be in the hole. It's going to take a long time. One thing I will say to people, if you're having problems with your creditors, call them, tell them.
And
Don't
say
just,
what?
I'm having problems. I missed 2 paychecks. What kind of arrangements can I make? Tell them you need to make an arrangement, because otherwise if you don't say anything, they don't know what's going on. They'll start slapping penalties on you and doing things like that. So if you have a challenge, let your employer, your creditor, know that you're having a challenge. Many of them are very reasonable in terms of saying they know what's going on. You know, they're not going to say, well, we'll forgive your debt. They're not going to do
Mhm.
that. They're not going to forgive your interest either. They might, but they're probably not going to do that. But if they know, they may not ding you, and the ding becomes, so you already got some issues. If the creditor dings you, interest rate will go up. Your credit may be imperiled. And you know, this is a credit card society.
Mhm.
So if your credit is imperiled, you're going to have problems. So, you know, the difference between 18% and 25% is could be hundreds of dollars a month. So if you look at that range, people who are people who have good credit get good terms for their credit. They have
Mhm.
lower interest rates. People who miss payments, etc., they have higher interest rates. That's just how it goes. And then don't, you know, so communicate with your creditor, even if you do it online with a note. I am having problems. What kind of accommodations can you offer me? Um, that's strong advice because it's really important that you not get dinged with your credit.
Well, Dr. Malvo, we are in the season. We are in the season, and reach out to your churches, reach out to the United Way. There's so many places that are really trying, and they're struggling to give away food, uh, or should I say, give the food to you that you need. I mean,
And
this
what
is
I would say, those people who are not struggling, open up your heart and your wallet and
yes.
make sure that you are supporting the United Way.
Mhm.
You're supporting your church. You're helping, or you can, you know, one of the organizations that I belong to, and it's a small organization. They're just going. They're planning to go to this park in Maryland on Saturday to give away food.
Mhm.
It's a
Okay.
small organization, but they're like, look, we this is the least we can do. So do something for somebody. This is a time when you really have to do something for somebody because everybody is not suffering. Most
Mhm.
of us are, but not all of us. And those who are not suffering should be sharing.
Mhm. Amen to that. And, a lot of people, remember that a lot of people are suffering. And most people who are suffering don't want you to know it
No.
because it does something to their pride because they feel that they will be perceived as not being enough. And that's just not true. Everybody can hit a rough patch. And sometimes we can be in that rough patch for a long time. What did Joe Lagan of the Mighty Clouds of Joy used to sing? I've been in the storm too long. Your storm could last a long time. And so sometimes if you make some soup, you just might want to take it to a neighbor. Show yourself friendly.
Yeah.
Do that. You live in a building, leave some extra cans downstairs. I promise you, somebody is going to take them. Think about that, everybody, because we've got to, we can come out of this together. We can. Again, I thank you for your prayers. Thank you for being so kind to my family. Love you all so much. Love you, Dr. Julianne Malvo. Thank you for your love. And thank you for your work. Of course, she's on WPFW every Monday. I caught her today, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. No, wait a minute. It's
No, Eastern
8
Standard
a.m. That's right, 8 a.m.
9
8
a.m.
a.m.
Eastern
8
Standard
a.m.
Time,
Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time,
and it's
every Monday.
wpfwfm.org.
Absolutely.
wpfwfm.org. You can get it streamed. You can also go onto their website and get old versions of Malvo exclamation point. Um, so you don't have to listen to this week with me and Linwood Tahid and Gregory Cook. But previous shows have also been very compelling.
And now it's part of the Pacifica Network, yes?
Yes, part of Pacifica Network.
So if you have any challenge, you can conceivably Google Pacifica Network and Malvo, and they will direct you to her. So think about that, everybody. But let everybody know about this great show. Don't take this brilliant mind and this wonderful spirit for granted. I am Santita Jackson. May God bless all of you, and you keep hope alive. Yeah, I'm saying it because it's true, and know that you are somebody. I'm Santita Jackson, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota.
Thanks, Antita.
Love you.